with us Krige Schabort. And man, he is the man. When Ralph and I were talking about doing a Paris Triathlon webcast, he asked me to find someone that was like, I really need someone that's big. I said, I can get Krige. I'm a fan of this guy. He said, whoa, you can get that. It's almost like we were playing a little cards. Hey, what can you give me? I'll give you $10 or something like that. It's pretty interesting. And of course, we have utmost respect for you. So does everyone else, Krige. I mean, you are one of the legends of, I would say, wheelchair sports, because you've done many different sports: wheelchair racing, hand cycling, paratriathlon. And today we want to talk a little bit before that. Let's get that. I know that you're from South Africa, right?
South Africa, yes, Cape Town, South Africa.
Yes, and tell me a little bit about that. I mean, when did you move to the US? I mean, how did this whole thing happen?
Well, in 1995, Karen, my wife, and we went to, oh yeah, that's a long ago pic there, right there. We went to Austria for the for getting ready for the Paralympic Games in Atlanta. And we were sitting on the grass around the track, and we thought, well, we were just talking, and it's just somehow the conversation turned, and we thought, let's go somewhere else, live somewhere.
Wow.
After the games in Atlanta. And we went to Atlanta after the games in Atlanta. We thought, pretty nice place, and that's how we moved to Atlanta, and we're still here.
Was Atlanta your first game? No.
Yes, Atlanta was the first stop, and we moved from Atlanta to Cedartown, and from Cedartown to Rome.
You've been there the whole time?
Yep, been there the whole time. A lot of people ask me the same question. They always ask you, how did you get here? And I would say, the long story or the short one. The long one is this, and the short one is just by plane. And then
And so let me hold on a sec here. Man, this thing is insane.
How often you have been at the Paralympics?
Say again?
How often you have been at the Paralympics?
I have been to 6 Paralympic Games. 6 Paralympic Games. There I am with all my buddies. I'm standing in the middle, and that was in high school. I think it was my final year in high school.
And that's it. That's in Cape Town.
That's in Cape Town. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
final year of high school. You look like
yes,
12-year-old, dude.
That was 12. That was 12th grade.
Okay, and then what made you join the military?
Well, and we were in a war involved since the late 60s, actually. I think in 1969.
Okay.
There was slowly a war, guerrilla type war in Angola, and that when we got involved, South Africa got involved. Over time, we got involved, and then so it was a draft. All kids had to. When you finish school, you can either join the army,
high school,
or you have to go to or you have to go to university.
Oh, really?
And if you do go to university, when you're done, you still have to join the army. There was no way out. You had to join the army. So we all had to do our 2-year draft service.
Join one of the services?
Huh?
Or army specific, or any of the services? Do you have multiple services there?
You didn't have a choice. I always wanted to go to the Navy because we lived by the ocean.
Yeah.
It's just a draft. It's by your number, and when your papers arrive in the mail, I went to Bethlehem. That was where I did my basics.
Okay.
It was 1,000 miles away from home, and I don't think I've ever heard of Bethlehem in South Africa. And then did my basics there, and then went to leadership school in another area, and then from there I went. I was an instructor. So I did my 2-year service.
Okay.
And after 2-year service, believe it or not, I went to college. And during that time, I got called up again.
Really?
And when you get called up again, and that was for a 3-month camp, what we used to call a camp. That's when my accident happened during my, a couple of years after I finished school.
So you went directly from high school into the military. So you're about what, 18 years old?
I was 18 when I was in military, and then
2
when
years?
my accident happened, I was 2 years, and then another 2 years later or so, when I was at college, that's when this happened. I was 24, early 24, or maybe not 24, 23.
Oh, you're very young. Wow.
Yeah.
And
this photo here is my best buddy at school. Marius is his name. He's a doctor in Canada now.
Okay.
And that was my first trip back home, this photo here. And I used to surf. We used to surf at that, right there, this spot.
Okay.
And you can still see my legs are in bandages. I hospital chair.
That's brand new, yeah.
That chrome molly chairs. Yes, yes.
I mean, man, that was probably just like everybody else. I mean, I found myself in like in a hospital bed thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? Because your life was going just the way you want. Everything's fine. All of a sudden, bam, and you look down and, your legs are missing. What was going through your head?
Well, yeah, you know what? We were standing out, I just about a while back, I found like a Google Earth photo of exactly where it happened. And it's the first time that I've seen a photo after how many years that where it happened was at the old convent. We just took an enemy base, our forces. We took an enemy base. We went in and we pulled out and we stayed at the old convent. And while we were there, I cooked I think I exchanged something with the locals there for a chicken. I got a chicken.
Okay.
And they got some of my rat pack food that I had, some of my dry rations. And so I was cooking the chicken on a spit outside, had flip-flops on, shorts. So we were waiting on further commands. And the next moment we heard jets flying over. But, I actually thought it was our own jets.
Okay.
Every day our jets flew over and they attacked an enemy base just north of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 2 or 3 minutes later, man, it was just a loud roar of jet engines, that deep sound.
Yeah.
And I looked up and I didn't even see it come down, and the bomb came down and it fell right next to me, about 2 yards away from me. And I can still remember going up in the air, doing like a backward somersault, and falling on my back.
Wow.
And the guy that was standing next to me, he saw it come down and he ran, and the same bomb got him as well and flicked him over a little wall. So while I was lying there, I heard him, but that sound in your ears, like a very high pitched noise of the bomb, then, your ears just blocked up.
Right.
But I heard him there, and the next moment, I looked down, and I was trying to get up. And when I tried to get up, my part of my foot was lying on my chest.
Whoa!
Still in my part of my sandal, and I just pushed it off, and then I realized my legs was not in good shape. It kind of folded backwards, and I started playing there.
And you were cautious. You were cautious throughout the whole thing. You actually can see everything.
Yeah, cautious by the whole thing, and then conscious. Yes. The medic showed up a couple of minutes later, and the doctor was out on a patrol that day. So the only thing he did was they gave me an IV for shock. They left me there. Didn't tend my wounds at all.
Really?
I think they thought I was gonna die. They thought they came and they read. They gave me my last rites. They prayed for me. They read Psalm 23 over me, and we waited. And then only 3 hours later, the choppers came in.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, and then in the chopper, I went into cardiac arrest. As far as I know, they gave me a adrenaline shot in my heart to get me back to it again. Yeah, that was, 2 days later, I woke up and they flew me back to the base, the small field hospital, did surgery there. And then a few days later, I woke up for the first time and I just saw this big bandages and the blood, full bandages on my legs when they flew us back to South Africa for the first time then in a big C-130.
Wow. And then, you had to go to rehab, all that stuff. And then how tough was that?
Well, when we got back, that the guy that was also hit by the same bomb, his name was Dave Segi, real cool guy. He lost one of his legs, and Dave, we flew back, and as we landed, there was the remains of I don't know how many other soldiers that died a day or two before us. They were flown back, and I didn't even know about this.
Really?
We landed, and then there was a marching, and I just heard, the voices of people marching, and then it was just a parade bringing the bodies out to the families.
Wow.
That I only heard long after, afterwards. Someone told me about it. And so that night, I went into shock, and my stomach actually exploded from the bomb because the bomb was so close to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From the inside, they never got it. They never realized it. That was probably, I would say, the hardest part to deal with once I started doing rehab, because of the nausea. They had to remove a small part of my stomach and my small intestine. So it took me, the wounds on my legs was quicker to heal than my stomach.
Kind of like mine a little bit. How long was the process of you okay, rehab and now go home?
Okay, so that photo was just around Christmas.
Okay.
And my accident was November the 2nd, I think. So that was my first time home, but I haven't been. So I was healthier on this pic, but I wasn't walking yet. So I could have been home, stayed home after this, but I wanted to walk. So I went back for quite a while, good couple of months, just to get my prosthetics and do some more rehab, physical rehab. But the walking took a while. I wanted to walk out of hospital. I didn't want to leave the hospital without prosthetic legs. So I walked for a year. Yeah.
Wait, I mean, with crutches or no?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh yes, definitely crutches. Yes. I couldn't go without crutches.
Pretty high, yeah. My right side is. My left leg is it's almost in the hip. It's short. Did you have any revisions? About when you stump. After that, you have to kind of go and revise probably.
But funny that you mention it. My right one almost felt like it was growing.
Really?
But somehow there was a growth on my leg, and it felt like it was pinching through the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So they changed the way they did the amputation, and they made it a little bit shorter at some point. And that was the only revision they did.
Okay, early on,
yeah. That was like I was still in hospital when they did that. Yeah.
Okay.
But and never after that.
How were you introduced wheelchair sports? Did that become like your way out? I mean, I have to ask, any depression after that? Because I had, we all have problems.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, part of our rehab was going to events, and my OT and PT took me to basketball, swim events, and in Pretoria, that was the city where it was, they had a big wheelchair tournament or track event.
Okay.
So we went there and had discus and javelin and everything except hurdles, of course.
Like the field events.
Yeah, everything except hurdles. So I watched these guys in the racing chairs, and I thought to myself, all right, That's what I wanted to do. So we went back. So I played basketball, I did swimming,
Okay.
but I always but I just couldn't get a racing chair. It took a long time, you know, couldn't get, you know, the funding for it, and who was going to measure me, you know, all that.
And especially back then, it was early on, there wasn't much available.
No, it was the beginning of the three-wheelers, and everybody told me, no, stick to a four-wheeler. The three-wheelers, there was one or two three-wheelers, and the guy said, no, yeah. And I went to a four-wheeler, and then they said, no, you should have gone for a three-wheeler.
Three-wheeler, yeah.
Yeah. So this was actually my brother and I started making our own racing chairs in South Africa. And this was Able Sport, one of our racing chairs that we made in 1993.
93.
That was a cool little chair. I love this chair. Yeah.
It's nice. Almost look like an older Fortress. You know?
Yes, it does look a little bit like the older Fortress. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was, you see where the little arrow is, that was one of the first actually single steering straight back that I could have my arms in an arrow position like this.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. That's pretty cool. So, you went to the games. You know, it's amazing how our story is kind of similar. You know, because I was in the hospital for a while, and then I went to the games.
Oh, really?
My physical therapist. I had because I was also shot on my leg, so I had like a device on my leg. So she took me to the VA games, you know, and I saw Jim Martinson.
Oh, really?
And Laverne Achenbach. Remember Laverne? And I saw them racing on the track, you know, and they're like birds, man, with their wings. Just
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I told my physical therapist, man, I want to do that. That's what I wanted to do. Just like you found it, and you fell in love with it.
But you know what? That chromoly chair that you saw in that earlier photo, that was my racing chair for the longest time. I used that chair to go to fun runs.
Okay.
And like 3K fun runs. And I used to race myself from rehab back to the hospital. You know, it was two different buildings. It was about 1.5 miles from rehab to the main hospital, and I raced myself and I timed myself so many times in that chair. So I was just hungry to do something in pushing.
Okay, yeah. And when was the breakthrough? I mean, when did you like, okay, this is what I want to do for good? You know what I mean? I want to be really good at this. Go to the Paralympics. How did that work?
Well, the first time I went for a marathon this was when I received my first racing chair, the four-wheeler now. Before that chair that you've seen there.
Yeah.
We made a homemade chair back in my area where I lived, and on the way to my first marathon, it was in the middle of the country. We still needed to pick up some parts for this racing chair, and so the steering was still not connected. So we picked up at a machine shop the steering, and we drove all the way out to Welcome, with the name of the city, Welcome. So we got there, I put everything together, I got in a chair, and everyone laughed at me. They said, I'm never going to finish this marathon. It was my first time in this chair. And it went like wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Oh, wow. Was it the four-wheeler or three-wheeler?
That was a four-wheeler.
Okay.
I had very little control on that, and the wheels was like. Anyway, sometime during this marathon, you know, a sandstorm came up, and I remember stealing the hotel cushion, like a seat cushion for my seat, but the back was totally just open, a hard back, and the sand came in between the sandstorm came in between, and in my gloves, you know, it was like garden gloves, you know,
Yeah.
And that day I told myself, I'm going to finish this marathon. Never again. It's over. And,
how many times I thought about that, dude?
Yeah. And I guess, you know, going back home, things changed in my life again. I thought maybe I should do one more. And I think that one more after that made me decide, okay, it's doable. Maybe you can do this. So then I went for the long term into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Atlanta was your first Paralympics, right?
No, Barcelona. Barcelona was
Barcelona.
That was, yeah, but 92 was my first games. Yeah, Barcelona.
92, and let me see here, man. You got, well, yeah, six times Paralympics, and got 2 medals, 2 Paralympic
Two medals. Yep. That was my first medal as well in the marathon. Me, Hollenbeck, and Claude Isra and Heinz Frey.
Isra. Oh my gosh, yeah.
We were fighting for the sprint, and man, it was a close sprint between me, the 4 of us, and I was the lucky one, you know. Hollenbeck,
that guy,
unfortunately, Hollenbeck is still angry at me about getting 4th. You know, he was so close, but he wasn't there.
What about, was Van Dijk in the radar at all at that time or not?
He did track then. He did track, not marathon, and more swimming. Yeah, he was after that. He was a swimmer.
Okay, he was.
So he gave me a good chance there, still to medal.
Okay, Ralph, do you know who Claude Isra is?
Say it again, please.
Claude Isra, do you know who he is?
No.
No, he's a French wheelchair racer. Yeah, he won in the Atlanta Olympics, the Rio Olympics, not the Paralympics. You know, they used to have a 1,500-meter race. Remember that, the track race?
Exhibition event, yeah. Exhibition
event, and on that event, he won the gold medal. You know, an actual Olympic medal, which is pretty cool to have. And I think Hollenbeck got a silver medal. If I'm not wrong. And so, how long did you focus on wheelchair racing? I mean, was that your main thing for many, many years? Like, it was like your job? Like, do you consider yourself like a professional racer?
I would say for a good part of 99, when I started, until 2012, London Games was purely wheelchair racing, except in between that time I did IronMan events. So a long career, very long career. I was lucky, you know, fortunate not to have too many injuries, and also I think one of the big reasons why I'm successful was more because I outlived my competition.
You what?
I outlived my competition.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, because most guys stop early, and I just kept on going.
That's my thing. I just keep going slow. I'm like the tortoise, go slow but forever.
Yes, but forever. Yes.
Yeah. And, so I know.
Carlos, let me ask something. So you have a very long story now as an athlete. So when you started, can you describe your kind of training and how many hours you worked at the beginning?
Yeah, I remember training the early years. Of course, most of my training was as hard as possible.
Yes.
To put it was maybe one, or sometimes maybe one day hard, one day easy, one day hard. The philosophy was always mainly to keep it hard, but even on an easy day, it was still too hard. It was the thinking was different, of course, than totally nowadays, because I wasn't. And then I started buying books. I don't know if you know. He's a famous South African sports writer. I'll get to his name in a minute. But anyway, I started buying some books and literature to read up about, you know, coaching. And then is when I realized, okay, it's not about, you know, going out and try to destroy everyone every time.
Do a marathon every day, right? Let me go do a marathon every day.
So a lot of times I would get to an event and I would have peaked before the event, right before the event. You know, I was just too early or a week too early because I was going, you know, at it too hard.
And have you trained alone the whole time, or you have some teammates around you, or always for yourself?
No, mostly alone, but I trained with Ernst Van Dijk very often. We trained together, you know, on the track, and on weekends we would get together, and I had some real good friends. The guy that actually introduced me to international wheelchair racing, his name is Andries Hauch. He's from my area, and he, you know, we train together a couple times a week sometimes. But you know, and if not, you know, someone in a wheelchair, I had a cyclist with me, my brother, or some of my friends that go with me. And then, you know, when I went out with cyclists, they would usually just up, you know, and I would just try to bite and hold on their wheels and stay in the draft.
Okay. And do you have some sessions which you mostly like? So which is your favorite kind of workout?
On the racing chair, right?
Racing chair, later in my life, when I really understand more about, you know, what worked well for me and what kind of sessions is successful, I would say I looked this morning again on what I did. I went back to 2002, 2003, earlier years of moving here to the US, and what my successful years were. Those were really good racing years for me. And I saw, actually, I've done a lot of 4-minute intervals. 4-minute intervals was probably one of my hardest in the beginning, but most successful later on, when I could feel I could handle them. You know, maybe 6 4-minute intervals at a very steady pace that I could hold. But
one thing, Krige, one thing that I noticed now, maybe, you know, maybe it's been going on for a long time, I just never noticed. Back in the day, like when, you remember Jim Knob racing, Craig Blanchett racing, you know, those guys, right? Paul Wiggins back in the day. I look at the guys racing now, like Daniel, for example. Let me see if I can have something here. It's the rate of stroke, how they do it now. It's like they, remember in the beginning of Heinz Fright, you know, he used to push. Everybody used to say he starts pushing when the gun goes off, and he stops pushing when he crosses the line. You know what I mean? So it seems that way that the new generation, that's how they race. I mean, like, you know, Aaron Pike, for example, Danielle, they just push. I mean, 100, 200 strokes at the time.
No, the guys like me and Ernst are a little bit more of power trunk pushers. So we use our trunk a lot when we push. So in general, my cadence is a bit slower. I would say about 95 to 100.
Okay.
I know Heinz is about 120 per minute, his cadence. I would say Daniel and Pike and those guys, they're also in the so they might use a little bit less power per push. Where I use a lot more the movement in my body.
You have less strokes, but more power.
More power, yeah.
Per stroke. Right.
So you have to be when you use your trunk so much, you have to be fit, and you know,
because you're burning more. I mean, you're spending more energy there.
Energy. That's what I notice now when I go in my chair. I fatigue really quick in my back and my shoulders, over my, you know, because I'm just, you know, not strong enough like I used to be to keep that motion for an hour and a half. Where, you know, years ago it was no issue for me.
Okay. And
but also the guys are a lot more locked in than earlier days. You know, earlier days the guys used to sit a little bit more angled. Now they're locked in more horizontal.
They're more like this, yes.
And it's almost just the shoulder movement and the arms that spin around and hit the rings.
Very little movement of the upper body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to sprint or pick up speed. But once they get on the
exactly
groove, you can see, like I can see Daniel, and of course, you know, Aaron is I'm one of his fans. He the way they just head down and then the arms just, you know, beautiful. You know, one thing, believe it or not, I learned this from Daniel using a what do you call to keep your pace, you know?
Like a pendulum. What do you call it?
I forgot, but he uses one of those things to keep his cadence, clack, 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 and really helps. And I use with some of my athletes that I'm, you know, teaching how to push the racing chair. When did you get interested in hand cycling? I know you did a little bit of wheelchair racing, and then you kind of stopped a little bit, and you did hand cycling pretty heavy there for a few years.
Yeah, hand cycling, you know, I always wanted to see something different in my year because the wheelchair racing is a long season.
Right.
And then, you know, always nice to have a little bit cross training of something else. I would say 2004-05 is when I got my first hand cycle, and that's where, you know, maybe a little bit earlier actually, but you know, starting more competitive. 2004-05 was a time that I got more involved and
what kind of bike was your first bike for hand cycling?
I had a
XLT.
XLT. My first bike was an XLT, and then I had an upright bike, and then I had started using force.
What do you mean upright bike?
Yeah, like a kneeler.
Yeah, because I mean, for you not having that much residual limb, you know, for you to be able to stabilize your upper body, you know, it's pretty hard.
It was hard on my back. Yes, I could do the movement, but because there's so much movement, it was hard for me to get back again. You cannot use the handles to pull yourself back.
Right, because you don't have enough leverage.
Yeah, you have to pull the handles back.
That's the problem that we have, parents. That's why we can't ride those things. You know, pushing, you know, pulling, especially on a hill, you know, you're going to pull your body forward. And then, you know, by you not having that much residual limb, that must be.
Yeah, I remember my first, my first couple Alaska, you know, the Midnight Suns in Alaska was on upright, and I remember the days got long for me. I mean, it was hard. It was a lot of fun, but it was hard.
How many days was it when you did it? Midnight Sun.
It was the first time I did was 6, and the last time, one of the last ones was, I think, 1 day less, maybe 5 or so.
But yeah, the first time I did that thing, man, it was 9 days.
Really, 9 days?
It was 9 days, and we did every single mile from Fairbanks to Anchorage. We would stop in somewhere, and we'll put a marker there. We go to a campsite. There was no hotels, nothing. We stay in the RV. Then we come back to the marker, you know, where we stopped the day before, and we start the race again.
Wow.
Which are racing? Right after I got injured, Jim Martinson.
Well, I had to push a little bit forward because we invite you for sure because of your para triathlon.
Yes, we're gonna get there.
Yes, and I like to know the last time you have been in Rio, right? This was your last race. And when you started with para triathlon?
My first one was actually back in South Africa when we still lived there. I just did the swim and the run because I didn't have a hand cycle. So that was in the late 80s, maybe early 90s.
Wow.
Then I really started when I got a hand cycle. Maybe 2007 or so was the first triathlon I did. And then in 2009, I really wanted to do something longer, and that's when I did Buffalo Springs. This photo is actually in Buffalo Springs. Have probably one of the hardest races there is that you can think of, man.
I remember when we talk about that race, and you're like, man, that race is hard. After the race.
That's hard race. That's hard race. Yeah. I prefer that to Kona. I mean, I prefer Kona to.
No, I mean the reason. I mean, one of the reasons that they decided to do Buffalo Springs Lake as the qualifiers because it's hard. You know, if you can't finish that race, most likely you're not going to be able to finish Kona. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
So you know, it's likely let's make things as hard as we can. Like that, the person going, they have a chance. You know, they have to remember in the beginning we didn't know a whole lot about triathlon, para-triathlon. When I did IronMan for the first time, you know, with David Bailey and all those guys. We didn't know how to train at all, dude. I was like, okay, you know, I go out. I would just go out until I bonk, and I come back, you know, to try to figure out, okay, what is my body going to do? To be honest with you, I was pretty scared the first time I did Kona. You know,
I can imagine.
Because I didn't want to fail. You know what I mean? And like, every time I went out for, let's say, for a 100-mile bike ride, I would come home and I would be spent. And I haven't swum yet. And now I got to get in my racing chair and do a marathon. And you know, whoa, man, this is going to be tough. Yeah. So the first time you did it was when? Like,
Kona was in 2010, and then in 11 again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let me see if I may have something here.
Yeah, that was. There's no experience like you can compare to Kona. I mean, as you know, it's just something out of the world. It's so different to any other event.
That's what, yeah, that's what I try to explain to people, able-bodied or disabled, it doesn't matter. If you're not a pro, I mean, if you're not there to win money or to place top 5 or so in your age group, go over there and have fun. I mean, enjoy the race, enjoy, because you work so hard to get there, right? If you finish the race in 11:53 or 12:39, nobody cares. I mean, nobody really cares. I think it's experience is what counts. And
know yourself.
Yeah, in the race, they welcome us very well. They welcome everybody. They treat us really well. So just like going to Alaska to do the Midnight Sun, it's not about winning. You can just go there and just go for the experience.
I remember the first time when I went, I called you. I don't know if you recall that.
I remember.
And you gave me, I mean, that helped a heck of a lot, just to get some information of someone that did it several times and what's hard and what you can expect, basically.
Right.
And that call helped me to figure out and set some goals for myself and times. And I think after I spoke to you and Jason Fowler as well, I got it pinned down almost to, I think my goal time was like 9:30, and I did it in like 3 minutes off. I was like 3 minutes off of the time that my goal was before ever doing the race.
The first time.
The first time.
Yeah, I mean, you know why? Because
I did 9:20. I did 9:27. My goal was 9:30. That's right.
I remember because when I was in Lubbock when you race. Remember, I was there. I think I had like a mini camp or something, and I remember you came out of the transition. You came out from the water into the transition, and you had all your instructions laminated. You know what I mean? And A, B, C, D. I talk about that every camp I do. About you, how you had your stuff exactly the way you wanted. You had a plan, and you just follow the plan. That's one of the things that really.
Well, it's 1,010 things that go in your head when you do a triathlon. A lot of things can go wrong. If you have something on paper or plan, it helps you so much. But I want to tell you this quick story about the second time in 2011. I thought I was gonna hit it hard. My goal was 9 hours.
It sounds like that.
And and then I had a good swim, exactly 1 hour swim, 1 hour and 3 seconds or so. My goal was 1 hour, and it was like 3 seconds off my time. The bike, I mean, I suffered. But before the race, they weighed us. I don't know about now. They weigh you. All the athletes get weighed. And then after the race, if you have issues, they weigh you again. At least they know, what your weight was before the race. So in case. So I finished that race, and I was, I was dead. I felt like, if you have burnt toast and you take toast and you drop it and it breaks apart. Brittle. It's brittle. That's what I felt like. I felt like if they're gonna drop it. Yeah, that was the second time.
And was your time faster or slower?
No, it was faster than my first time. 4 minutes faster. But what happened was, they weighed. I was out of it. I crossed the finish line. I was like,
done.
They weighed me again. I weighed 124 before the race. I weighed 117 after the race. After I ate and fluids, about 10 pounds of fluids and food, close to 10 pounds, liters and liters of fluids.
That's
and
incredible.
Bananas and sandwiches, and I still lost 7 pounds. Still lost. So they had me on an IV, and that helped big time.
I mean, IronMan, it's a big thing. I mean, especially the one in Kona. It's and it's not the hardest one. People think, oh, Hawaii is really hard, really hard. It's a beautiful racing. It's an awesome course. But it's long and it's hot.
Yeah, that heat
and wind. The last time I did it, 113 degrees. Because we lay so close to the ground. You know?
Yeah, that far from the ground.
So you're like baking the whole time. When I was there with Sonardi, Alex Sonardi, and also Chris Peterson, we did the same. He did the test. He put the mirror, you know, the mirror coating on it. So Sonardi wrapped his whole bike in like a silver mirror thing, which by Chris Peterson, it was almost like 20 degrees cooler inside of that.
That's amazing.
The capsule, you know what I mean?
Very, very clever move.
And you know, we have a lot of people that actually are watching us, and thank you there, Ruth Osborne. She's actually thinking, I think she's doing an IronMan as well, and she reminded me it's a metronome that you keep your pace of your
metronome. Yes,
strokes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have one on my laptop, and you know, it really works for someone that if you on a trainer with your racing chair, if you use a metronome to keep your pace, that it really, really helps. It's almost like running.
And it's amazing how quick you get off pace if you don't have a metronome.
Right.
Totally, that's a good point.
And then ITU. I mean, you race ITU. I mean, are you currently in the national team for the USA?
No, I'm not racing at all anymore. I'm just you know, competing for fun when I can, but no.
And you started Able Sport, right?
Able Sport, yes.
What is that? What is Able Sport?
Well, Able wheelchairs was first started. If you can recall, the little racing chair you saw back in South Africa. My brother and we started a company called Able Wheelchairs.
I saw that on the name. Yeah. Yeah,
because I used to import racing chairs for people from Sopur in Germany.
Okay.
And it got too expensive with the exchange rate. So my brother and we started making racing chairs in South Africa. It's called Able Wheelchairs.
Okay.
So after the Paralympic Games, this last one in 2016, I started my own company reviving Able Wheelchairs, but this time Able Sport. And that's where it started. And I did my, also my, as you did as well, my certification as a triathlon coach. You did the coaching certification, right? Level one coach. So I started off coaching and working with equipment, but it feels like my passion is more equipment than coaching. So, and that's been, the last couple of years.
And go ahead.
Those are the travel boxes that we designed. It's called the Race Case. I've deal with so many folks that have to do airline claims with a racing chair.
It's a major thing, yeah, for us.
Yeah, and so I decided to come up with something that can, protect your racing chair. At least, you can do your race. The box can get damaged, but your chair won't get damaged when you have the box,
Okay,
and it's a great. It's on wheels. You can pull it wherever you want. It's very light.
I mean, it's a huge risk, every time you travel, especially if you travel and overseas to do a big race, and you get there and your equipment, is damaged. Same thing goes for hand cycling, and people ask, how do you travel? How do you travel? And and having something like this boxes are perfect because they're the exact size of the frame, so they won't be bouncing around. It was definitely needed. It was definitely needed.
Yeah, and it's sturdy in there. And the next step is wheel case and also hand cycles. Cool. But no one is traveling now, so it's hard to get in. My focus is not there right now.
It's hard.
I don't know when people is going to start traveling, so we'll just have to see. But that is something we've done a lot of improvements on the race cases.
Okay.
And I think that helps to get lined up for the hand cycles as well.
Let's say, someone out there, they're brand new to this, man, they just got hurt, boom, lost their legs, they're paralyzed. What is the number one thing you would tell that person if you would see them?
I would tell him there's a lot more than that because when I got injured, I thought life was over.
Right.
Until you get introduced to stuff that's out there, you feel like you're the only one.
Exactly.
and I will just, you know, tell him, you know, listen, him or her, there are plenty of ways you can still enjoy life.
Amazing life.
And then I'll go down the line, you know, there's basketball, there's tennis, there's wheelchair racing, there's triathlons, there's hand cycling, there is, you can shoot someone with a bow and arrow or whatever.
I mean, in the beginning, you know, for me, you know, it was like you said, it's like not knowing what's out there, you know, because you get, not everybody on a daily basis are thinking about wheelchairs or ability, you know what I mean? And then something happened, like in our case, for example, for me, it was like, I knew what I was going to do. For you, you kind of had an idea, this is what I want. I'm on my path. And then something happened, everything, boom, changed overnight. You know, I'm still, you know, in a hospital bed thinking, what am I going to do now? And there was a lot of cuss words in there, you know what I mean? And it wasn't until this nurse came in, and it was the middle of the night, you know, I had tubes everywhere. And she said, you know, I work with a group of paraplegics, you know, and they play basketball. That's when in my head it sunk in that, dude, this is going to be for a long time. This is forever. You know, there's a label there for this kind of stuff. You know, it's paraplegia. You're a paraplegic. You know, and that's when it really scared me. You know, it must have been the same way with you. Like, what am I going to do now?
Well, you know, really what actually, when the scariest part for me was going home.
Yes.
Because in the hospital, you're in a protective environment and everyone's got an issue, and they, you know, and there's, they take good care of you. But once you get home, then you are really, for the first time, what you are, your new self.
Yes.
And that's when you go by a window shop and you see in the mirror yourself in a wheelchair. And,
wow.
And then you realize, oh boy, I'm different, you know, and I have to, you know, cope with a new world.
You know, some people do well, some people do, you know, and some people don't. You know, that's the thing. One thing that I like to, you know, to bring it up, especially, you know, like people like you and I, you know, Ralph, you know, athletes, they're out there, you know, and people think, oh, these guys, you know, they do so much, they're awesome. You know, their life must be perfect, you know what I mean? And it's further from that, you know what I mean? We're humans like everybody else. And some days I want to get up on my bed and go for a run like I used to, you know, but then you realize, dude, I can't. You know, and then you just move on. You know, it's one of those things that you just become part of it. Like one major thing, having a family. You know, like especially like, were you married when you? I'm not sure, when you got injured, or no?
No, I didn't even know my wife Karen. We met, and she's an occupational therapist. Okay. We didn't even meet in hospital or anything. I met her a couple of years after my accident. So yeah, not married.
I mean, and that's one thing that's big, you know, because, you know, your life is different and you're unsure. Okay, am I going to have a family? You know, am I going to get married? Am I going to have kids? You know, what kind of life am I going to have? So it's awesome to see, you know, people like you that, you know, they're very successful. How much is your family part of that? How much is your family part of that? You know, Krige Schabort, the athlete.
Well, I would say since forever, even my blood family at home, my brothers and my mom and dad, they were very much a part of my life, you know, and it just evolved into, you know, getting married. And then Karen, you know, we traveled to Europe for 6 months just to race, the two of us.
Right. Yeah.
I raced in Germany and Switzerland and Holland and Belgium and Austria for 6 months. So it was totally a team commitment. And once I had kids, you know, I did triathlons with them, and we went together
everywhere.
Yeah, and then they pull me in on their bikes when we go on training sessions. No, it's very, very involved. To me, it's you know, without family, not possible at all.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna just I have too many.
So you both are very, very successful. And the question is why you are so successful. Is there a strength, specific mental strengths, or do you have experience during a race when you are struggling and know how to go over this point? Do you have something like this, how you can explain to go over some border points?
I always feel like if I really suffer and struggle or have a big event that I really have to commit myself to hard trainings, events, you know, that's disappointing. I always feel like if I could make it through hospital with my injury and the suffering I had there, why can I not do it now? And that, you know, is a driving mechanism for me. I think also a motto for me is just never give up. And that helped me in tough times, is just to, you know, repeat that in my mind.
Quick question for you. I have
an idea, because when I have struggle or problems and tough days, I always remind some very hard situation. Like when I was in America with Carlos during RAM, after 8 days, you're done. It was the hardest day I ever done. And after this days, I have the knowledge I'm able to do the most things I like to do. If you're able to do 8 days with these 4 athletes in a car, driving always with 10 miles per hour through the whole country, and you're still alive after this, I think this is something like this is necessary to be stronger than every difficult on problems, right?
Yeah, that's a very good example. Totally so.
Something you can go back to, you know, and like, okay, if I've done that, you know, I can do this. That's what you're talking about, Ralph?
Yes, this is necessary for athletes. They need sometimes points where they have to go over a point and to say, hey, I made this, so I'm able to do the next level again and again and again. And it's good to see and to learn how you as an athlete thinking, and to explain it, how you can get a little bit harder, get a little bit wider, hold the power in a time trial 5 minutes longer than you.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the difference between you and maybe 80% of the other athletes. If not, you won't be so successful.
One, sorry guys, but I do have some questions that I forgot to answer here. One question I have is from Ken Higgins. He asked, after all these years of you racing, you know, myself as well, has that taken a toll on your body?
Yeah, I definitely would say so. Yeah,
like right now,
my lower back, it's more, it's not my muscles so much as my joints. I would say definitely
you can
lower back issues over time, neck issues. I don't know if you've seen that one photo of my racing chair that was kind of broken in half, the yellow frame. That was actually 1 week after Kona 2011. I went out with my boys, and it was a hit and run accident. A car hit me from behind. My 2 boys were with me. And I still, you know, I still have back and neck issues because of that. You can see on the left back wheel, that's where
right there.
The wheel. Yeah.
Wow. You went right through and broke the wheel right in half.
Yeah, that was rough. I suffered neck injuries, so it's you know, definitely had some, you know, long term, but you learn how to deal with it.
Right. I have a question here from Ruth. You know, she's also going to be working with para-triathletes, and she's asking, you know, for a complete novice para-triathlete, as far as gear, which one do you think would be more important? You know, if someone has limited funding, a racing chair or a hand cycle, which one of those 2 pieces of gear you think would be more important at first?
Well, I think it's easier and less expensive probably to get in a racing chair. But you know, a racing chair is a bigger commitment than a hand cycle. Right. Because the racing chair, there's the discomfort and the fitting issues. So it's I definitely think that I would do that again.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I try to explain to people between both sports, because here in America, you can do marathons on both sports. And a lot of people that run before, they get hurt, and now they want to run again, and they want to use a racing chair. Like, when you get a racing chair, like you said, it's a commitment. You're going to take you're going to have to learn how to do this. With the hand cycle, hop on it, go get fit. As soon as the bike is done. Ralph, what do you think?
As a coach, I would say first to get a hand cycle.
Yes.
Because you need more time to have a better shape in hand cycling than in racing chair. So if you're looking to the last years, the best athletes, almost hand cyclists. So if you want to be on the same level and you're starting with racing chair and later with hand cycling, you need years
because
to
you
have
have
the same level like the others.
Right.
Especially right now with the both Dutch athletes, which are very fast in hand cycling, and to put that time to win in racing chair, it's not possible.
Yeah.
No. When we have camps, triathlon camps, and I tell people, between the three sports, I usually focus on the bike as your fitness sport. This is how you get your body fit. And then the wheelchair racing and the swimming, you work on your technique. Most of the time you just work on your technique, because your fitness is going to be there from cycling. And then the technique, once you hone that in conjunction with the fitness, that's how you go fast. I wouldn't try to get fit specifically on the racing chair. I want to get on a racing chair so I can get fit, lose weight. If that's your goal, get a bike. That's more efficient.
I think it was 2009. I was really getting stronger in the bike, and I wanted actually one of my best wheelchair racing years in that year. But most of my training was in the bike. But just mainly fitness. And I had a fantastic finish with Kurt Fernley in the New York City Marathon. It was like a photo finish. And I was so surprised, just because, I didn't do so much work, but I had a great race, but I had all the muscle memory of the wheelchair.
It comes back. Yeah, that comes back really easy. But the fitness, that's the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just got back on my racing chair a few weeks ago, and, the push is still there, but you just don't have the fitness.
Yeah.
It's like riding a bike. Once you learn, it's there. It takes a little bit. Ralph?
I'm fine.
Any questions?
No, at this moment, not. Yeah, for sure. I have one more question, and maybe only small. The difference for you in preparation for Rio and Kona. So only maybe 3-4 short sentences.
Oh, big difference. Rio was really hard on my body, in the sense of it was the intensity of the workout was high. It was short, but it was brutal, some of them. Where Rio, for Kona, I disappeared for half a day for long, easy rides, and come back. I was dead tired, but it took a different toll on my body than the short, hard workouts. I don't know which one is harder. I almost feel like the short ones was harder for me
it's the same. It's the same thing. It's just the duration of the suffering is going to be less.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's even harder, the short ones, because, dude, in Kona, you can actually stop biking for a little bit and go downhill. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or, okay, I'll take a breather. On ITU triathlon, it's red line from
all the way
beginning to end. So it's not like, oh, you do short triathlon, that's easy. It's not easy. It's actually, I think it may be even harder.
Yeah.
Because it's a hammer all the time. All right. And so, in your opinion, where do you see para-triathlon going? You think something's going to grow? You think it's going to, are they going to change classes?
There's in the short term, obviously this year, I don't think there's any races scheduled for triathlon as far as I know. But definitely over the longer time, I've spoken to some cyclists lately that would like to convert more into triathlon. A triathlon, it's an expensive sport. It's tough to travel with. You have all the equipment. It's very time consuming.
Yeah.
So I think you need people that's really committed to triathlon, really to make it,
To make it work.
Wide success. So that you need funding, definitely a lot of funding, and you need athletes that really got a lot of drive. A lot of drive.
Because it's a new sport, you know what I mean? So there's a lot to be learned, you know what I mean? Until it really settles itself on this is how it's going to be for a while. So it's because just like any other sport, with disability, it's not a clean cut. There's so many different types of disability. None of them are the same.
Yeah.
Try to get everybody on this, try to make the game fair is really hard. They should do this, but it's not an easy thing to do. But hopefully, the way I see it, it will develop into something more structured where everybody can compete, either classes or, against each other, but being fair at the same time. We all know that.
Yeah, I think that's the obstacle still with triathlon is classification, and it's probably never going to be fair.
No, yeah.
You can bring it as close as possible, but it's three sports. Many different disabilities, and it's just it's a tough one.
Kelly has a question. Yeah.
Because now maybe some people around listen to us. The biggest problem in my eyes at this moment is the system, how you can start at international races. So to get points for Rio or later for Paris, it's so complicated and it's depending on so much money that it's very difficult that you can make the next steps in the international classes.
Right.
So, and this is the most problem in my eyes for this at this moment. If you're not able to go to a World Cup for the first time because you need points, but you don't get points, because you're not getting invited. You're getting invited when you have money and going to, I don't know, to a small race in Italy. And this is difficult.
I totally agree on that. I think they have to let it loose there a little bit more, open it up for more athletes. Because
Absolutely.
once you're in, it's okay to stay in. You still have to work hard, but to get in is. I had a lot of people ask me, "How do you get there?" And that's a tricky question. It's.
I think that's a problem with any new sport. I mean, hand cycling was the same thing in the beginning. Trying to find its place. You know what I mean? And I think the same thing is happening with paratriathlon. They're trying to figure out how can we please everybody in a way. You know what I mean? Because and you know how hard it is. No matter wheelchair racing, hand cycling, swimming. There's always going to be that, he has a little bit of, he has an advantage, she has an advantage.
Yeah.
Nothing we can do about that. You know what I mean? Getting into disabled sports, you have to already understand that. It's not going to be, clean cut. You may have to compete with someone that may be a little more able than you, but doesn't mean that he's fitter than you or he's faster than you. So I see, a high paraplegic go faster than a double amputee. So, that doesn't really mean, I think, no matter who you are, if you want to compete at your highest, you're not going to pay attention to that. You just go for it and get as fast as you can, and what happens.
Yeah, it's really easy to have someone else's disability use that as a mental block for yourself. And I get into that trap as well sometimes, but you shouldn't do that. You should, everyone just put yourself on the same plane level for the race, so you can compete. Otherwise,
it's hard. Kelly's that's actually a good question. I think Ralph can answer this one here. She started she's just became a paratriathlete coaching. And what recommendation do you have, Ralph, for a double amputee, a double AK, similar to Krige, I would say, that has some weight to lose? Racing chair or hand cycle?
Hand cycling.
Yes.
And it's you can go longer, burn more energy, and you can ride in an intensity where you burn more fat and not burning carbs as much.
Right, and then Kelly, if you're still with us, that's the main thing about losing weight. Is going to be the intensity of the person's workout. If you're saying there's a double amputee and he or she is maybe a little bit overweight, and for he or she to be able to lose that weight, the bike for sure is going to be the best bet. But the main thing is make sure that he or she is riding at the right effort level to be able to lose the weight, to be able to use fat as the main source for that fuel. Is that right, Ralph?
Yes, because there's a quite easy reason, because if you're riding long with an easy pace or effort, you are able to monitoring your diet easier. So if you're riding hard, you're getting more hungry after the riding, and you're eating everything what's around you. You're drinking Coke, you're eating whatever. But if you're riding long and easy, you are not hungry as much after that ride. So you are able to monitor your diet easier.
Yeah, and people, they may think, oh, I just rode for an hour. I can go home and just eat and drink and drink and drink. And know this, if you are, a paraplegic like myself, where, you paralyze, half of your body doesn't work. So you're not going to have the same, caloric requirements as everybody else. All right. So when you go out there and you think, oh, I just rode for an hour and now I can eat a whole chicken. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way because we're working with smaller muscles. And so we're not spending as much. Is this right, Ralph?
Absolutely. So it's about 1/3 less at a normal day. You have to eat than able body.
Yes. And so I mean
without training. So if you have a normal day, and for example me, I can eat 1/3 more than you.
Yeah. And that's one thing that happens a lot with people in wheelchairs when they get hurt, is that they have a certain habits of eating. They get hurt, those habits still the same. Now you don't burn as much calories, you don't spend as much energy. So it's very easy for you to put weight on, and it's very hard to get the weight off. So Kelly, we definitely recommend would be the bike ride, and a very, very low intensity ride. Not 100% easy, but not hard. You know what I mean? So the source for your energy comes from the fat storage.
And increasing the volume.
Volume, yes. An hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5. Slowly increase the volume, not too quick. But the longer you can go at a lower intensity, the more you're going to lose weight. And if you go out there and hammer for 3 hours, it's actually you're burning, carbohydrates too much, and you're not using the fat. So you're going to get hungry, like Ralph said. At the end, you're just going to be hungry and eat more.
Yeah. And if you trained 3 hours hard, you have to stop your training 3 days, and you're not burning any more energy at the next days. So it's better to train every day, low intensity, and burn so more energy over the week than with only one hard training.
I think they bought a racing chair instead of a bike for the person that wants to lose weight. So yeah, the bike is definitely the best way, to lose weight. But anyway, we're getting to the end of our webcast here, and this is gonna be recorded as well. It's gonna be posted online. You guys can have access to this anytime you want. And Ralph and I, we just want to thank you, Krige, for being part of this. Giving us your time and answering some questions. Ralph?
It was a pleasure to meet him again, and hopefully we see each other next year in any camp in America again and spend some time. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
As soon as we can fly, we should get together again.
Yeah, man. No, as soon as we can fly, we're going to have a camp in Arizona.
There you go.
Tucson. Yeah, we're already planning a camp in November. So you should come by and check it out. It's amazing. Yeah. Learn a little bit about power.
Oh boy, yeah. I know that you guys are the pros in that.
He is the pro, not me.
I really enjoyed, being a guest on NEX Talk. I think it's a great idea you have. Keep this going. This is really awesome. Cool. So we need, information out there, and this is how people get information and learn. And thanks for inviting me. I enjoy it.
Thanks, awesome. Hey, say hello to the family, to the boys, and I will send you, of course, Nexus tea, and awesome. For the whole family. All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thanks for being here.